So we were just talking about the changes, right? Well, so I think some of the changes I've noticed are the difference in applications from 2022 to 2023, kind of, any kind of controls, tools that are required on these applications, in the last 6 months or year. And I know the list is just getting longer and longer. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, Rob, just to comment real quick, we didn't help write those carrier apps because if we did, the questions would make a lot more sense. So uh,
Understood.
I think on our end, Tim, something that a lot of our MSP partners get hung up on is they look at this laundry list of controls and they say, man, if my clients all implemented these, they would be rock star clients and I would be, I would only need to keep 4 of them on my books because they would pay my bills forever. And what and especially some certain carrier apps, I'm not going to name any, but certain carrier apps are extremely comprehensive, like 12, 13, 14 pages, like they're long. And you have MSPs filling them out and they're saying, hey, if I answer any of these wrong or if I advise my client on them incorrectly and my client doesn't get coverage, now I look bad. This is on me now. Oh, you haven't been protecting me the right way, Mr. and Mrs. MSP, right? So you're afraid to answer the questions because then it's like, I don't know what's going to affect them. And that's part of the challenge is on those really comprehensive forms where there's a lot of questions. I would say the majority of those questions are all data collection right now. We like to say insurance is a baby. Cyber insurance is a baby. Most lines of insurance have been around for, well, a very, very long time, some decades, some centuries. And they have very in place underwriting guidelines and standards and all that kind of stuff. And what we are seeing in the cyberspace is you had these policies that they just started handing out like candy when cyber insurance first came on the scene. And then when we had the pandemic and underwriting got serious, now they said, well, obviously cyber controls help, but we don't know what any of these mean. So let's just start seeing where the losses are. So they're asking all these questions and then looking at past loss history and saying, okay, when people had these controls in place, they were less likely to be breached. So those are the ones we're going to look for, right? So they're building that out. The problem, and to your point with like the adjusting, and you guys can shut me up whenever. I'll talk about this stuff.
Keep going.
Part of
Keep going, man. Keep going. Rock on.
Part of the evolving industry is just the reality that, like, we're in an industry where every time a new control gets made, the bad guys are looking for another way to circumnavigate it, right? They're going to try and overcome it. So that means a new control is going to be made. So these aren't going to become, I don't think it's ever going to completely settle, but it's not, you have to say yes to everything on this form or you're not getting a policy. There are very specific things that carriers are definitely looking for. And then there are other things that, depending on the nature of the risk, those may or may not be necessary.